Bueno, yo creo que es tan importante hablar en otros idiomas porque cuando puedes hablar con otras personas, eso significa que puedes tener una conexión fuerte, puedes entender la cultura, puedes realmente conocer el lugar también. Y en mi experiencia he tenido muchas oportunidades a conocer gente solamente porque yo hablé en su idioma. Outra coisa também é que quando você fala em outro idioma, isso significa que vai mudar o jeito que você pensa. Um exemplo que eu adoro dar para as pessoas quando perguntam qual é a diferença pensar em um idioma, outro idioma, inglês ou português. Então, em português, se eu falo, eu passei o fim de semana com uma amiga. Você vai pensar com uma amiga? Qualquer amiga. Cara, quem? Mas se eu falo em inglês, I spent the weekend with my friend. Pode ser que foi um amigo. Você não sabe. Amigo, amiga, mesma coisa em inglês. Então é bem diferente, né? Isso é somente um exemplo de como muda o jeito de pensar e muda como é que você tem que se expressar em um idioma versus outro idioma. E hoje, я думаю, говорить другой язык это помогает много путешествовать, говорить с людьми. Например, две недели назад я потерял, правда. Я не знал, где я был. Но потому что я говорю на русском, и сейчас я здесь в России, я спросил, где это автобус, где это город, и все нормально, да? Если я не знал говорить на русском, что происходит? Что происходило? Я не знаю. And very simply, that's why I love languages. Not to mention, languages are just cool. There are some languages where you have to say if you know something because you saw it or if you know something just because you heard about it. There are some languages where it's different if an object is animate or inanimate. There are some languages that don't even count by 10. Languages like Georgian count by 20. It's craziness. And really, the beauty of how language can change the way you see the world, and as well, the way you express the world. It's an amazing thing. Hey everyone, so I know a lot of you know me from my travel videos, and you've probably noticed that in my travel videos I use language as a way to be able to connect with people. So if I go somewhere and if I'm interviewing someone, then I'm using the languages I know to help me connect with them. And you saw in the intro here, I speak 4 different languages. So I speak English, Spanish, Portuguese, and I'd say I'm like intermediate in Russian, but I'm working on my Russian too. Now, you might wonder, how did I learn these languages? What's my story? And that's exactly what I want to tell you today. So my language learning journey started when I was 16. I'd taken languages before that in school, but to be honest, languages in school never did anything for me. Anyway, I started having some friends who were Brazilian, so I started learning Portuguese, and I didn't really know what I was doing with it, so I just kind of learned some words here and there, tried to say some things. Honestly, it wasn't much of a strategy, it was just being interested, being motivated, and working at it little by little. And that took some years. But anyways, after I finished school, I went down to Brazil and I worked with an NGO school there. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, too. But it was interesting. I remember the first day I got off the plane, I went through customs. It was like 3 a.m. too. It's a late flight. But I spoke just in Portuguese. And that was that moment where I was like, oh, I learned something. I kind of speak Portuguese. And those months I spent in Brazil, they helped me to keep going even further from there. Now, after I left Brazil, I decided I want to keep traveling. So my next destination was Chile, and Chile speaks Spanish, as you might know. And sadly, Chilean Spanish is not very much like Portuguese. So when I got to Chile, I'm like, okay, it's time to learn some Spanish. And it took several months of working at it, but I developed a little bit of a level. I moved from Chile, Peru, Ecuador into Colombia, did some different volunteer work. I kept teaching online like I do now as well. And in any case, I kind of got to like a B1 intermediate level. I went home to Florida after that, and I spent like a year back in Florida. but I didn't want to lose my Spanish. So I made this goal. I said, I am going to take the C1 exam and I'm going to pass it. In November of 2020, reminding you right now, I went to Chile April 24th, 2019. So November 2020, I took the C1 exam. I passed the C1 exam. Now at this point, I speak 3 languages. It's amazing. And I kind of went a year just not really working on any languages, sort of maintaining what I had. And then I decided to start traveling over in this part of the world. So right now I'm in Russia, and I've traveled Central Asia this year. I went through Turkey, I went through Georgia as well, like that whole part of the world. And in any case, the most practical language to learn here has been Russian. And I've been working on Russian now since December, so that'd be 10 months? Russian, of course, is way more challenging than Spanish or Portuguese, which is one reason that I've really liked it. Because you see, Russian is like a test of my methodology, a test of my language learning abilities, and it's taught me the importance of certain things that I didn't value as much before, like reading, writing. But right now I want to go over how is it that I learn languages. So very simply, my method works like this. I have 2 rules. Number 1, I must speak the language every day. This rule exists for one simple reason. I'm an English teacher, and when I teach English, which, by the way, if you'd like some lessons, it helps me keep traveling, feel free to book a lesson right here. I'll pop it up on the screen, and it's down in the description. Anyways, one thing that I tell my students all the time, and that I've learned is a fact, language is for communication. So if you're not speaking every day, then you're missing the whole purpose of having a language. It's no wonder that your brain can't remember things if you don't use the language productively, meaningfully. The number 2 rule, and this is very important as well, learn new words every day. When you're speaking, you need something to say. And if you learn new vocabulary every day, especially words that you want to be able to say, then you cycle those words into your speaking when you're speaking the language. Learn new words, speak, learn new words, speak. It's like a circle. The things you don't know, you learn. The things that you learn, you use. Now, of course, there are other things you can do as well. Reading has a place, writing has a place, grammar has a place. And I think those are things that depend on the language. I'm learning Russian now, you know that. With Russian, writing has a stronger place because it's a new alphabet, so I need to instill that in my mind. Reading is important as well because it's not so clear how to pronounce words in Russian. The way they're spelled doesn't really match the way that they're pronounced in the way you would expect. Another important thing for me is grammar. I need to know cases, I need to know conjugation, and that's stuff that has to get cycled into usually my vocabulary part of the day. Now, if I was learning Chinese, grammar might not be so important to me, but writing would be way more important because suddenly I need to know thousands of characters. The secret I've found is if you understand how languages work, it's very easy then to be able to figure out what you need to focus on more and what you need less. The one thing though, and you have to remember this, no matter what, speak every day, learn new words. No matter what language you're learning, you need those things. Alright, so I know this is an unusual video for me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I tried to pull up some of my old travel videos that are long before I started doing YouTube. But as well, I want to ask you for a favor. So I speak 4 languages. I don't always get to practice all of them. Leave some comments below. If you speak Spanish, Portuguese, or Russian, leave some comments for me. That way I get some practice and I'll answer you. As well, if you have any questions about how to learn a language, how you can do better learning a language, let me know. And stay tuned, guys, because the next video is going to be back to traveling. I've got some cool things to show you about my life here in Russia, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.